Welcome to the One Hand at a Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris Welton. And today, I know this sounds like I keep repeating myself, but I have another person, a great guy that I met at an event in Orlando. I was connected to him through Ben Newman. So I've said this like the last 8 or 9 episodes. I feel it's always somebody I met somewhere, but I think it puts the highlight and importance on making sure you're getting around other like-minded people. Welcome to the call, Anthony Lee.
Hey, great to be here, Chris. And you are 100% correct, man. Life's about connections. And, that's where we have to live and breathe and talk to other human beings. We just can't do it through social media. So it's good to actually meet face to face.
Yeah, so I cannot wait to just dig into a lot of different aspects. We were talking previously about before the call. Obviously, we both have a mortgage background, so we can talk about the chaos that world is facing currently. But the first thing I want to talk about is something I was privileged to be part of last night, which was this book release party for your new book. And it's Race for Greatness, right? Race for Greatness. I mean, I look at the title of the book and it's super captivating, catches it. From relentless pursuit to $1 million mastery. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you take it away and tell me what that means.
Yeah, so that was great. So Race for Greatness is, the name is, I've been racing all my life. I came from a running background, cross-country background. In fact, I'm wearing my 2024 Boston Marathon shirt. So the Race for Greatness is, something we're all chasing. We want to be great every day, in our lives. We want to make our lives great. So that's where the name, and it's funny, the name actually came. I was on a run, and I was running, and the name came about. It's a Race for Greatness. And then I had to think about what would race stand for? What could that moniker stand for? So like relentless action, connection, execution, right? And then from there, it was just boom. I've been building to this probably my whole life. And since I got out of the military, I retired after 22 years with no experience in mortgage business or anything. I just used that relentless drive to, create something from nothing. And here I am now on your podcast.
Yeah, definitely. And on the precipice of being a best-selling author. We were talking about that. We're on the way, man. The trajectory's there. And I know the things are in place to make that happen. How does that feel? Like, I know how it felt when the box showed up and I opened the box and it's my name's on the cover of a book. Like, I barely read any books growing up, and I wrote one, which is just mind-blowing. But how did that feel for you?
Man, it's like the best feeling. And one, because this was, one of the main reasons, probably the main reason I wrote this book was for my mom. My mom, brought me up to read. I was in the library all the time. I grew up, not well-to-do, pretty poor. So, the library card was free. So I got to go to the library a lot, and she still reads a lot. So she doesn't even know. So this is a big surprise for her. I'm gonna go back home here in a couple of weeks and surprise her with the book. She gets to see it. She'll get to see it in the library. So that's for her. So, but yeah, man, it was the best feeling ever to be an author, to see something published with your name on it. It's an amazing feeling. And to know that if you just change one life through that book, if it changes the trajectory of that person's life, then you did something, right?
Yeah. Can I ask you, this is a question about writing the book part. And was there any point along your journey where you felt like, man, I shouldn't do this? Like, is anybody going to buy it? Is anybody going to read it? Like, because that's how I felt a couple times. Like, it took me way longer than normal because a couple times I was like, yeah, I'm just not going to finish. Like, nobody's going to buy this book.
Well, I thought that quite a few times when I was writing. I was like, you know what? What I'm saying has been done so many times before. Like, it's been done, it's been said. But then I was like, well, it hasn't been said in this way, and maybe it's not, from this frame or this perspective. So I'll keep doing it. And then I just had to keep in my mind that also, I have grandchildren, and so my grandkids were on the launch yesterday. They got to see it. My daughter is part of the company, so they get to see her working in it and doing more. So now this is something that gets to live on with my kids and grandkids well past when I'm gone and passed away. So it'll be here for them. So when those thoughts crept in, I was like, no, this is for them and this is for everybody else. It's not for me. This is for them. So it kept me going. But you're right. It does. You do think, you're like, man, nobody's going to read this thing.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love the fact that in that I would say that that would be called your burn, like our mentor Ben Newman talks about
Yeah.
all the time, right? Connecting with your burn and finding a way to push through things when we want to stop. Um, look, I want to jump right from the next thing to what you have going on right now. Like I'm every time I turn my look in social media, I see you're on a different continent running a marathon. Like what in the heck is
Yeah.
going on, dude? Like explain to me what you're.
Yeah, so I am doing all six marathon majors in the world in 1 year. So what the six marathon majors are, or is the six largest marathons in the world. They are comprised of Tokyo, Boston, London, Berlin, Chicago, and New York. All right. And usually it takes people 10, 12, sometimes 20 years to complete this feat. And the reason why is because just for the London Marathon, which I just completed, okay, there was 538,000 ballots to get into that race. So your chance of actually getting drawn to get in that race is slim to none. So you have to keep trying over and over. Same for all these other races. And then you have the Boston Marathon, which is the only one out of all six that you have to qualify for. Now, some people will never be able to make that qualifying time. So what Abbott, the major sponsor, has done, they have an Abbott draw. So once you've completed all five, or I may have a four or five of the majors, you can go into a draw for Boston. So now you're in this pool of, let's say, 100,000 people, and you got to hopefully get drawn your number out of there. And they may only have like 3,000 spots every year for people out of that draw. So I've been blessed enough that I can run fast enough to qualify for Boston. So I actually set out on this journey though in 2022. Okay, that's how long I started in 2022 with the plan, and I had to plan out how I was going to get into every race and how I was going to make sure I was guaranteed entry into every race. So I started planning in 2022, and then in October, late October, November 2023, I entered the guaranteed entry for the New York City Marathon, which meant I had to run a marathon in a 6 day specified period of time in 2023 to get guaranteed entry for this year. So that's how I got all six. Then it's the feat of actually running six marathons in 1 year because you do Tokyo in March, and then in April, you do Boston on a Monday and London on a Sunday, 6 days later. Okay. And I just did that. Like that was 4 days ago. Or yeah, whatever. 4 days. My mind's all messed up from the travel. But that is hard on the body. I knew it would be hard, but I didn't think it would be that hard. Like it hurt. Like it hurt. But I got through it, and so now, yeah, three left to go, man.
Yeah, I'm sure I mean, what a feat to run the two marathons within a week. I did a 50 miles in 24 hours before.
Wow.
I did the Goggins challenge and then I added 2 extra miles to it. So I couldn't have run another mile after that, like my feet and my body. I mean, I'm a Clydesdale, I'm 6'5", 250 pounds. So I'm not built for speed or distance, but I can take everybody with me. so,
Right.
so the fact that I was able to get that through that, I can understand what you're going through when it comes to the two in a week. Um, are the other three any closer? Like, are they easier broken up?
They're easier broken up. So Berlin is the end of September, and then I get a 2 week break to Chicago, and then I get another 2 week break to New York. So there's 2 weeks in between each of the next three. So which is good. 2 weeks is enough. I can recover in 2 weeks and keep getting them because they're relatively easy, and then New York's the hardest one, like with all the bridges. Um, so
Yeah, I mean, you're train. For me, like I ran the Monumental, which is in Indianapolis. I ran that like I don't know, 10 or 11 years ago. I'd run several half marathons at that point, and I said I want to run a full. The hardest part was training
that is
for the
that is
full,
the hardest part.
right? But there was multiple weeks where I had 30 plus 35 miles worth of runs in a week. So
Hmm.
I think that with your training, you'll be able to. I mean, you'll be able to get through the
Yeah.
rest of that, no issues.
Yeah, it'll be good. But yeah, man, and the travel's been amazing. Like Japan,
Yeah.
an awesome country. London, so much fun. Like everybody there is partying all the time.
So I want to go from that, the discipline of being obviously a super high performing athlete, running multiple marathons and doing that. Did you gain some of that discipline from the amount of time you were in the military? Did that come from that?
Yeah, so in the military, I was a PJ, went through PJ Indoc, did all that kind of stuff, Halo School, Special Forces Combat Dive. So all that discipline came from being in the military. In the military, it's all about discipline, standards. You have your SOP, that's what you do, and you have to do physical fitness tests all the time. So I had to stay in shape, and I ran while I was in the military, and I was on the world class athletes program for triathlon while I was in the military, trying to go to the Olympics in triathlon. And so, yeah, the discipline of just doing it every day and actually getting good at the boring stuff, meaning I can go train every day, no matter how mundane it is, because that's what I want to do. So when I created this business, I got into real estate and mortgage, like with no background. I just started. I didn't know anything, but I just knew if I worked 18 hours a day and I'll figure it out. I'll make some mistakes along the way for sure, but yeah, I'm good at the boring stuff, like really good at the boring stuff.
Well, that's a very valuable talent, right? I mean, so when you say SOPs, I'm assuming you mean standard operating procedures, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Some people don't know that. I do, because I was
Oh,
just actually on the call earlier developing some SOPs for my company. So I get that. In the SOP part of, let's go straight to the mortgage side. How has that helped with integrating processes and making sure your company is always in growth mode, because you don't
oh
have to
yeah.
worry about the basic. I mean, we have SOPs that take care of most of the stuff that needs to be done. You can focus on the rest of it, right?
Right. So for us, and as you know, if I can on the backside and the operations side make it just so easy for the loan officer, hey, here's the SOP, we have it written out. All they have to do is these tasks, boom, 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 hand it off, and then they can go get another loan, right? It takes literally maybe 60 to 90 minutes of their time to get that in, and then boom, we can still go grow, do more loans. On the recruiting side, we can go recruit more, whatever it may be. Having those SOPs in place, I think, allow people to focus on building their businesses and not have to worry about the minutia and getting stuck in the weeds, right? Because it's almost we make it dummy proof. Hey, here's the checkbox. Did you do this, 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 this? Great. Move it over to the operations side and let them do it, right? So, and then on the operations side, of course, we have a lot of SOPs on that back end. But yeah, so it's been great, and I think the people that come over to our company and stuff, they like it because it's very structured and it's detailed. So sometimes too much, probably.
Well, but I think that industry needs it, and I think the people that excel will always talk to you about they fall, right? They fall to their SOPs, right? I
Hmm.
mean, like if you don't have them in place, if everybody's doing something different, you're gonna not get where you need to go, right? I mean,
Yeah.
look, I've been in the mortgage business for a long time, and I don't like getting a mortgage. Okay, like it's stressful as can be, and I've done it forever, right? So, um, how does your company differ from your competition on making sure people are, like, the client is better taken care of and it's a smooth process?
Yeah, it's funny you just mentioned that. We just had a review on Google, which was amazing. I suck at getting Google reviews, but we're gonna get better. Anyway, we just had one go on there and it said working with Zap Mortgage was the best experience ever. All their people were down to earth and so nice. So we try to put that calm into everyone because it's a stressful process. Even for you and I, when we get, just like you just said, it's not fun doing it. So we assign a concierge processor to each person that's actually very seasoned. Like we're talking, all of our processors are 5-digit NMLS, right? So they've been
Okay.
in the business a while.
Yeah.
They've been in the business a while, so they know it, and they're very calming. And because we have the SOPs in place, it's a very easy process for the client to get through because of and we communicate with them. Like they can text, they can email, they can do whatever with their processor and their loan officer at any point in time. So we're in huge communication with them and with the realtors that we work with on the side. So that way, everybody knows.
Yeah, I was taught a long time ago that the worst thing about communication is to think it happened, right? So,
Right.
um, I over communicate, and I really focus on that when I'm dealing with clients. And because I don't think there's can be too much. Now I have had people in the past go, Chris, could you tell your team to stop sending me a text message every time they turn the page? Yes, we can adjust that. Right? And we
You're
can take the
right.
check marks off and slow that down in the system. But look, you're navigating some turbulent waters right now in the mortgage industry. I was
We
during in
are.
the mortgage industry during the meltdown. I don't know, were you in during the meltdown?
No, I was on my last legs of active duty, so I was watching it from the outside.
I had a front row seat, and this is nothing like that. You know, the first thing I want to tell people that weren't involved in it then, this is nothing like that. Um, Back then, we went from doing loans to not having to be able to do loans. Really, I mean, it just all of a sudden it just came to a screeching halt, and everything we did changed. People are still doing loans. People are still buying properties.
Yep.
I have some of my coaching clients that are having their best years ever. I mean, I've got a couple realtor clients that they're gonna do 100 million in business this year. So, I mean, the business is there. You just have to do something different than you did in 2020 and 2021. I said that world was full of pretenders. They just put fruit baskets under the tree and shook the tree, and it would just fill up, right? And you couldn't buy a Rolex watch to save your life during that time period because all the mortgage guys were making so much money they were all buying Rolex watches. But you can get some good deals on them now. But I'm just
That's
curious,
true.
how have you kept your people dialed in and understanding that what they did 2 years ago or 3 years ago is not going to be effective today?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we have been pounding on that for like the last 8 months, 9 months, even longer than that. It's like you said, you were just essentially an order taker back few like it's as many orders as you could take, right? As much as you wanted to work. And now it's going back on all the building blocks that we built in our training program. We were pretty much before that refi, but we're a purchase company anyway. We're huge on the purchase side. So, I've really pushed those realtor connections, making sure they stay in touch with their realtors, trying to give the realtors, especially now with the whole NAR thing, just trying to make sure they're all stay calm and we're going to have business. And you're right, the ones that are working, the ones that are actually making the phone calls, the ones that are actually talking to their clients, asking the referrals, still doing all their basic marketing tasks that they needed to do, if as long as they've done them for the last year, you're right, they have business. I have LOs that are going to be, doing almost 100 million in volume, just single LOs, just from, as much, outreach as they do. It's because they've stayed true to the process. They've trusted the process and they've actually done the steps every single day. And what we're seeing in the industry right now, yeah, it's tough. It's nothing like what you went through, like at all. Right now is just you have to have grit. You've got to be determined. You've got to believe in yourself, right? Because like you said, the transactions are still going to happen. People are still moving. People are still buying homes. The question is whether you're going to be on that transaction or not.
Yeah, I see it. Well, I'm seeing a lot of people get out of the industry, a lot of people quit, a lot of people not putting in the work or the effort. And I'm so frustrated with that because that's not who I am, right? Like I think that everybody should act the way I did. So as you're running a company, how do you lead by example, right? How do you show, besides running marathons all over the world, right? And that's a
Right.
big deal. I'm writing a book. I mean, your people love that, right? They see that and like, oh my gosh, like they totally look up to you for those things. But how are you getting in the trenches with them, rolling your sleeves up and making sure that they have the necessary tools to grow through this market?
Oh yeah. So, I've made sure to make it a point. So every morning I get on the early morning sales call and I still do blocking and tackling with what we call blocking and tackling is, we role play pretty much every day, at least for 15 minutes. So I'm sure I'm on that call in the morning to show that I'm there, give them some feedback on how they're doing. Sometimes I get on there to show them how I would say it if I was out there actually doing the selling. And then I'm helping them by I have a huge lead gen program, direct to consumer lead program. So, the LOs that want to be on that, we make sure they get on there. So I'm providing them the leads to make sure they have the business that's out there. And then of course, you know, we have our 100 point day, which you'll find in the book. People in the book can see what our 100 point day is, at Zap Mortgage and what I've created. So this 100 point day, if you get 100 points and you average, let's say, 100 points on our sheet for 365 days, you'll make about $100,000. If you average 287 points on this sheet of calls and stuff, then you'll make probably anywhere between 280 and $300,000. We've made that sheet so one, it holds you accountable, but two, we can project what they're doing. So I've kind of made one up for me so I can hold myself accountable to them, be like, hey, here's what I'm doing as far as recruiting, programs, things I'm doing from the company side. And I'll put my sheet in there with them. Maybe I have 100, 125 points in there because it's not the same as me just banging out calls. But yeah, so I'm in there with them. And then probably like 2 times a month, we have a challenge day where I'll be on there the whole day. I'm like, okay, who's going to get more points than me? Between calls, outreach, applications, under contracts, everything like that. There'll be a couple days where I'm in there with them all day long, just working as an LO. Again, not nearly an LO. My LOs will do the loans, but me actually getting business again. And I love that. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I think a lot these days the leadership seems to be so removed from the people that are putting in the work. And I'm sure you get the same respect that I got at running a company. Is I started as an LO, right? I didn't just come in and the
Yep.
next thing you know, I'm the chief sales officer for this company. I started as an LO. I grinded. I did realtor appointments. I did cold calls. I did all these things, and they respect you for that, right? They respect that you've done there and been there and done that. And the fact that you jump back in now, what a massive deal. Like I would used to love going on appointments with my loan officers.
Oh
Take me
yeah,
with you.
it's
Take me with
yep.
you. Like, and the amount of respect they give you once they see you with somebody, they're like, man, how'd you do that? Well, I did it really bad, like 1,000 times before this one. So
That's right.
that's the big thing. The big takeaway for me is like the only difference between myself and the loan officer that's new is I've made 30,000 more phone calls than they have. I mean, that's
That's it.
really what it comes down to, you know?
And I think
Um,
what you just said, it's hard. It's hard for the people getting in the business to realize people like you and I, we've made 30, 40, 50,000 calls, met all those people. And while it looks so like it's seamless to us, they're like, well, I'm not getting it. I was like, we just have to keep doing it over and over. Just, you'll get there. It's time though. So,
What do you tell somebody that comes in today? And obviously, the new generation doesn't like to make phone calls; they like to text or whatever. Which I do POCs. I do text, email, and phone calls both. But
right.
phone calls, dialing for dollars, that's where it's at. What do you tell people that are afraid of the phone?
Man, so we have a little thing we do here. We have our initiation day. And when they're afraid of the phone, so actually it's a blocked off on my calendar. It's a 4 hour block of time. So I'm on there. The director of operations is on there, and I sit there with them. So we have it set up so they can be in the CRM and they can be dialing. I can hear it. I can see everything they do, and I just sit there with them through like their first 10 phone calls. Like I just go through it with them, and they start getting through it. And then the next day, other senior loan officer on there with them, but we just make them dial, and we're like, look, you're gonna suck. It's okay, and it's okay. So yeah, we just make them do it. Not make them; they want to do it. But yeah, it's hard. And then we teach a lot. People want to text, and I'm like, hey, text is great, and you can do a lot. But remember, when you speak to people, there's tonality in your voice. There's other cues that happen that you can pick up on from them too when making that sales call. So it's important for us to get that through to them that on the phone, especially with someone for the biggest purchase of their life, they're probably never going to spend more than they're going to spend right now. Being on the phone with them is going to help them out. Even if they're a millennial buying a house and they like text, talking to them on the phone is still going to help. So yeah, we just throw them in the deep end.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's just getting the reps in. And one of the things we used to do is, we'd make a lot of calls on Monday mornings, and from like 9 to 11, everybody that had to make their calls would all get on a Zoom call together,
Hmm.
and you'd mute your mics, and we'd make the calls together. Right? They couldn't
Yeah,
hear me, I couldn't hear them, but they could see other people, and then we put our wins into the
right.
comments. And I tell you, people loved that. They felt like they weren't doing it alone. They could see it on the camera, but they were making the calls, and the consistency with that, celebrating the wins. And I set an appointment and everybody's involved. Um, it really made people more comfortable with the phone calls. Right. I mean, look, Scripts are created for a reason. They're so you can learn and get good at it. I don't have a script anymore for my phone calls. I have kind of some framework if I'm going to do something. Like I
Yeah.
know what my objective is, right? But I had a guy on my podcast a few months ago named Andy Elliott. Do you know who Andy Elliott is?
Yeah, he's the car sales guy, right?
Course trainer guy. Yeah. Yeah. So I had
Car
Andy
trainer, yeah.
on and we were talking about leadership in the United States right now when it comes to businesses. And he said there's such a massive gap between leaders and the people that make the company the money. He said, for people like us, like you and I and him, it's a great time because we have zero competition when it comes to competing with leaders. He said, and the tougher the economy gets, the bigger the gap becomes because they start disappearing. And I had Chris Vincent on the other day. I was talking to him. I said, I used to do these videos where I'd say, I can't find the leader. Like I'm trying to find your boss. I can't find him. He's not answering the phone. So how have you been able to stay present with your people when in the times of stress? We talked about some stuff briefly before we got on, but how have you been able to stay present for them and make sure they're navigating this with you?
Yeah, so this is, it is a stressful time for the LOs and for this industry. Even though we're doing well and we have people doing well, the stresses of this job can get to you, whether there's personal things going on in your life, your days don't go well. There's a bunch of stuff that can happen. And so, I've made it a point to where the people in the company, since we're pretty much all virtual and we're in multiple states, we're not like, we don't have one big headquarters where everyone comes into work. That old management by walking around thing, I can't do that. So I need to make sure they see me every day and hear me, and they have an open line of communication. They feel they can come talk to me about anything, which is good and bad, but good mostly. We have a Slack. We use Slack a lot, so people have direct contact with me, and I'm in there during the day because we have different rooms. So underwriting questions, these questions, I'm in there. When I have time, I'll be answering questions, or so they see me involved. They see that I'm involved in their lives, and not only on the business side. For their in their personal lives too. I want to know what's going on. I want to know how we can help support you as a company, and just mainly, basically, be there for them when they need someone to talk to that's maybe not in the trenches with them every day.
Yeah, I think it's so important to connect with them on their personal life, not just their business, because um, salespeople notoriously, and I'm just as guilty as everyone else. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of times my personal life is a direct reflection of how good or how bad I'm doing in business.
Yeah.
Like you can't help it. Like you're so when you're driven by results and it's not coming or happening, it tends to bleed into other areas. And being a leader like yourself is definitely something that's going to help those people get through that. I know that for sure. And so I'm going to bounce back to the book real quick before we wrap up.
Yeah.
What was the reason? Why did you write the book? And what does the plan look like in the future with that type of stuff?
Yeah, so one of the main reasons was one for my mom, but two on the business side of it. I wanted to get, you know, I'm all about growing, everyone growing. It's like I want people, I want my competitors to grow. There's enough for all of us, right? They say rising tides raise all ships. I want everybody to do it. So what I did and what our salespeople do to make seven figures in sales a year, I wanted to share and get out there for free. Well, 99 cents, right? You can get it, buy it on Kindle and get it at finance or pay $15 for the book. So you can say it's not free, but technically it's really free. And it gives you that framework because when I came out of the military, knew nothing about business. I just had drive, I had grit, I had determination. I made it work. I wasn't the smartest one. I wasn't, I didn't know everything. I just figured it out. And I wanted people to see that they can do that too. You don't have to have the background. And then I want to get people the blueprint. Like there's a lot of people. So in the forward of the book, when you get your book, when you get that copy, you'll see in the forward, I was like, I put an author's note at the end, at the end of the process, right before like final print. I was like, look, this is not some big strategy. Just, hey, do this and you'll be successful. I wanted to give you a tactical blueprint. So I talk a lot about strategy, but in this book, you get the tactical blueprint. Like in fact, when you download the stuff, you'll see every week the 10 things you need to do every week for the first month, and then every follow month after that. And then it breaks it down. Then I have the sheet per day of what you need to do. And then I have two templates for service-based businesses and then people that have actual product-based businesses. And it's an actual template. You follow that template, Chris, like you will do it. And I talk about one person in the book, Lorne. I talk about three people in the book, but Lorne was the best, meaning he followed it to a T. And he was only with me for 6 months because he had to go to medical school. He went to his residency for medical school. But he was in his last 6 months of medical school, came to work for me, followed the blueprint, and made $317,000 off a 50-50 commission. So he technically, in 6 months, brought in 640 some thousand dollars worth of commissions by following it and doing it exactly as printed. So he would have been over $1 million for a year had he stayed. So I've given this blueprint out in as many iterations to hundreds, maybe thousands of people. And the thing is like it takes consistency, as you know. It takes determination, and you got to believe that it's all going to work. And you have to do it every day. When I said I got good at the boring stuff, you're about to see. This is the most boring template in the world, but it gives you the steps. If you just do that every day, you're going to win. You can't lose because you're doing so much action. You're executing and you're taking action. You can't lose. So, that was the reason I put the book. I wanted to put it out there, give people the chance, when they say they want to scale their business, they want to do better in life. Well, here's your chance, and here's how to do it exactly. So just do it.
Yeah, it's funny because I'll speak on stages and I'll give strategies and I'll say, hey, here's the great thing. This won't get overused because only 2 or 3 of you in the room will actually take action. Okay.
Yeah.
And people are like, why do you give away that stuff for free? I'm like, because first of all, I want to help everybody, like you said. But second of all, most people aren't going to do it.
No,
they're not going to, right? And there's, in the quote that Jerry Rice says, I don't understand why people don't give 100% of the time when it's 100% up to them.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like,
true.
It's 100% up to you. Right. I mean, like, if we weren't those people, we would have never met. Right. You and I would have never met. Like, we wouldn't have been in the same room. We wouldn't have been.
That's right.
Having these conversations. And I want everybody, man. Like, I want everybody to get a taste of what that's like. And you don't have to operate at a high level. You don't have to write a book. You don't have to be a keynote speaker like Anthony and I are. But if you want to be great in what you do, it does require discipline and to be great in that area. You could be, I want to be the best fry cook to ever be working McDonald's. Great. But you got to be consistency and work hard to do that. It doesn't matter what area of life you're in. So
true.
Man, it was a pleasure having you on today and getting a chance to catch up with you. Hopefully I'll see you again soon at an event somewhere. But man, I appreciate you, brother. And I can't wait to see what happens with the book. And I can't wait to follow you to, these other marathons coming up.
Yeah, you too, man. And congratulations on your book. It is awesome. Like, if you guys haven't picked up that book behind him, you guys need to. That's the ultimate connection tool. You want to learn how to get in somewhere? Dude, that's it. So congrats on you being a bestseller too. That's amazing.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning into the One Hand at a Time podcast. Please make sure you like and share the episode, and we'll see you next time here at the One Hand at a Time podcast. Make it a great day.